Scream proves Jack Quaid should play a Star Trek villain. Jack Quaid has long been the kind of actor who sneaks up on you. You notice him in The Boys as the morally conflicted, quippy Huey, and he lingers in your mind as the guy who can deliver sharp humor one moment and gut-punch sincerity the next. But his recent turn in Scream 2022 present reveals a quality that may have gone largely unnoticed. Quaid has the perfect combination of charm, menace, and calculated unpredictability to become one of Star Trek's most memorable villains. Let's start with the basics. Star Trek villains are rarely one note. Even the most iconic antagonists, Khan, Gul Dukat, or the Borg Queen, have layers, motivations, and charisma. They're not just evil for evil's sake. Star Trek thrives on tension between intellect and morality, between principle and temptation. Jack Quaid, especially in Scream, demonstrates precisely this duality. He plays characters who oscillate between being utterly relatable and frighteningly capable of betrayal, and that's the heartbeat of a great Trek adversary. In Scream, Quaid's character operates in a universe where trust is fragile and motives are layered. He isn't a cartoonish villain. He's human, intelligent, and at times even endearing. This is exactly the kind of nuance Star Trek loves to explore. Think about it. Many of Star Trek's most memorable villains are the ones you almost root for, or at least understand, even as they challenge the heroes. Quaid's skill in creating empathy for morally ambiguous characters makes him uniquely suited to embody a figure who is a real threat to the Enterprise while still fascinating audiences. Consider Quaid's timing and presence. Villains in Star Trek are often defined by their confidence and subtle manipulation. Whether it's a telepathic prod from a Cardassian commander or the precise, chilling logic of a Romulan senator, Star Trek antagonists need to command a scene without overplaying it. Quaid has this down to an art. In Scream, he conveys a sense of unpredictability with a mere look or a pause. He balances tension with charm, making you think he's one step ahead at all times. This is exactly the type of presence that could make a new Star Trek villain unforgettable, someone who dominates a bridge scene without needing a single phaser blast to do it. But it's not just the subtlety, it's versatility. Star Trek's villains are often complex intellectuals, strategists, and moral foils. Quaid has shown he can embody this complexity in multiple genres. In The Boys, he's the innocent yet cynical underdog, a stark contrast to the monstrous heroes around him. In Scream, he inhabits suspense and horror with an uncanny ability to make fear feel personal. Translate that versatility to Star Trek, and suddenly you have a villain who could seamlessly command a Romulan warbird, outwit Picard-level tactical genius, or manipulate a Federation council, all while remaining deeply human, relatable, and scary. Another subtle factor: Star Trek loves villains who challenge the audience's perception of good and evil. Quaid has an innate ability to blur that line. He can make you laugh, then recoil in shock at the next revelation about his character's actions. A Star Trek villain doesn't just threaten the crew. They make viewers question what they would do in a similar situation, which is why characters like Gul Dukat linger in our cultural imagination long after the episodes air. Quaid has that rare capability of making audiences invest in his choices, even as those choices create chaos and danger. That moral complexity is Star Trek's bread and butter. And then there's charisma. Star Trek villains need it to survive long beyond a single episode. They must dominate scenes, deliver unforgettable lines, and leave an indelible mark on the narrative. Quaid has a natural, effortless charisma that draws attention without overshadowing others, an essential trait for a Star Trek antagonist who needs to stand out in a universe full of brilliant protagonists. His charm is disarming, which makes his eventual acts of villainy hit even harder. Audiences don't just fear the villain. They fear the betrayal that comes from someone who seems trustworthy, someone who feels like a friend, or even a hero. Imagine a Star Trek episode with Jack Quaid as the antagonist. He could be a charismatic but morally complex Starfleet officer turned rogue, a cunning Romulan strategist challenging Federation ideals, or even a mysterious entity whose motives are initially inscrutable but ultimately force the crew to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. His range allows writers to craft a villain that is intellectually compelling, emotionally resonant, and narratively essential, a character that could anchor multiple episodes or even a season-long arc. Ultimately, what makes Jack Quaid ideal for a Star Trek villain is this: he understands the power of nuance, timing, and moral ambiguity. Star Trek's greatest villains aren't defeated by brute force. They're defeated by wit, insight, and ethical reasoning. Quaid embodies the qualities.